Every JRPG franchise explained in one video. From Final Fantasy to JRPG franchise so obscure that you've never heard of them before. And make sure that you stick around because there are going to be at least 3 JRPG franchises that you didn't even know existed, and one of them may instantly jump onto your must-play list. And when we get to the end of the video, I'll start revealing some of the most strangest JRPG franchises ever made. Games so bizarre that they make even Persona look tame. But let's start with the JRPG franchise that changed gaming forever. Final Fantasy is one of the biggest franchises in the JRPG genre, going as far back as 1987. Final Fantasy is known for its deep world building, character design, and storytelling, but each main installment features a new story, setting, and cast of characters. Several elements still do transition from game to game, creating a shared identity across the series. Things such as characters, creatures, summons, items, and magic abilities you can expect to see reoccurring. Nothing that's going to stop you though from understanding the game when you first start out with your first Final Fantasy, but as you grow as a fan, you'll learn to appreciate them more when you get to your second or third Final Fantasy game. In the earlier days, Final Fantasy was associated with innovative turn-based combat, but with the evolution of gaming, they've shifted to more of an action-based combat system in newer installments. The majority of Final Fantasy games have aged very well, but even then, they're still going back and remaking some of the older fan-favorite titles to be enjoyed by new audiences and the old audience. Over the years, Final Fantasy's expanded beyond just video games and into films, anime, and other forms of media, cementing its status as a juggernaut in the JRPG genre. The basic premise of most Dragon Quest games is to play as a hero who's accompanied by a party on a journey to save the land from an evil enemy. There's 11 mainline games along with several spin-offs into different genres as well. A core philosophy of the series is to make gameplay simple so that players can pick up the game and easily start playing. Dragon Quest games have become a lot of gamers' comfort food when they're wanting to start something more calming and nostalgic to play. The Dragon Quest franchise is known for its signature art style of characters and monsters designed by Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z. Being turn-based is at the core of Dragon Quest, and they continue to produce AAA titles not straying away from that identity. While each game tells a new story, there are some reoccurring themes similar to Final Fantasy, such as a hero's journey, the battle between light and darkness, and the importance of courage and friendship. Tales of is a series developed by Bandai Namco that started with Tales of Phantasia in 1995. Minus spin-offs, the Tales of franchise has 17 mainline titles, with Tales of Symphonia and Tales of Vesperia kicking off its popularity in the West. The series took a 5-year break from Tales of Berseria to Tales of Arise, but it came back even stronger, looking to widen out that fan base with its latest entry. From its inception, the Tales of series focused on evolving its linear motion battle system, known as LMBS. That system stops Tales of games from just being a standard hack and slash by forcing you to focus on limited resources to perform abilities known as arts. The Tales of series tends to have each entry's theme inspired by real-world events, with the common one being racism and the issue of coexistence between multiple races. A big charm to Tales games is the characters and the relationships that the party builds with one another as you progress through the story. A lot of time is spent building up those relationships between the two characters with their signature skits, rather than just rushing to complete the story. The skits are going to be a short, optional dialogue that gives more details about the characters and builds up their relationships, adding depth to the storytelling as you get to know the different party members better and see them interact with one another in different forms as opposed to just what is presented within the story. Visually though, the Tales of series is also known for its anime art style and features anime cutscenes produced by big studio animes such as Ufotable, who's behind Demon Slayer, and they actually animated several cutscenes in the latest installment, Tales of Arise. If you enjoy JRPG content like this, I really would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying my hardest to push 30K by September, and I can do it with your help. But now that you've taken care of that, let's get into the next franchise. Persona is a franchise developed by Atlus that was originally a spin-off from Shin Megami Tensei. Persona is known for blending JRPG elements with social simulation, their stylized menus, and memorable music that spans across every mainline title. A Persona game can easily have you immersed in the experience with 70+ hours of playtime for each entry. The setting of Persona games typically takes place in a Japanese high school where you'll take on the role of a student and fight alongside your other classmates. The overall story themes usually revolve around the exploration of the human psyche and how characters find their true selves. Now, when it comes to gameplay, That tends to revolve around balancing daily life activities such as attending class, building relationships, and participating in extracurricular activities, while also battling threats in a dungeon crawling format. When it comes to combat in the Persona series, it's usually going to be turn-based battles that's going to involve summoning personas, each with unique abilities and attributes to assist you in those fights. Personas can be fused and enhanced in the signature Velvet Room, which is another thing that persists across all of the titles. Since Persona 3, the social simulation aspect has become the core of the franchise, and it's perfectly integrated into the gameplay, with each social link providing different perks in combat. Similar to other games on this list, each mainline entry is its standalone series that transfers terminology and monster designs, but not necessarily characters and story. After talking about Persona, it only makes sense to talk about its father franchise, Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei was the first ever monster collecting game. Yes, it wasn't Pokemon, it was Shin Megami Tensei, and you were able to recruit demons to fight alongside you. The core pillars of Shin Megami Tensei are mythological and religious references, demon fusions, a branching story, and being able to negotiate with demons. Many Shin Megami Tensei games are set in a post-apocalyptic world where society's collapsed and supernatural forces have taken over. Decisions you make while playing can lead to multiple endings, reflecting different moral and ethical paths such as siding with law, chaos, or even a neutral stance. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is the title that brought the game to an international audience, but Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance just released if you want to experience how the game has evolved in its latest entry. Each Fire Emblem game is a standalone entry that generally takes place in a medieval time period where the protagonist is either royalty or a mercenary caught in a conflict between two or more countries. Majority of the Fire Emblem games are going to be tactical JRPGs where combat is going to take place on a grid-based map. Each character is going to have a class that's going to come with a special set of stats, abilities, and movement ranges that's going to allow them to traverse the map. Fire Emblem was known for its permadeath mechanic, where if a unit died in battle, they would permanently be removed from the story, adding stakes to each decision you made in every battle. With newer installments, they've incorporated ways to turn this off, but it is still a signature of the series. Also included in newer installments is the social simulation side of things, where you can grow closer with characters that's going to have benefits on the battlefield as well. In some games, the social simulation stops at falling in love and getting married, but in other games, it's going to go as far as being able to have a child together who's going to be able to inherit certain skills and stats from its parents. You'll probably recognize a lot of Fire Emblem characters from being featured in Smash Bros, because they were featured as early as Smash Bros. Melee. Kingdom Hearts is an action-based JRPG crossover between Square Enix and Disney. Kingdom Hearts has 13 games, most of which build upon the same story and universe. The story centers around Sora, who travels to several Disney-themed worlds to fight Heartless, being puppeteered by Organization 13, while also interacting with other popular Disney and Final Fantasy characters. Sora sets out on his journey after he's separated from his two childhood friends Riku and Kairi, and as you travel through these worlds, you'll be accompanied by Donald Duck and Goofy, who assist in battle with their own Final Fantasy-esque abilities. The signature of the series is going to be the Keyblade, which you probably recognize, and Sora is one of the wielders of a Keyblade, and he's able to use this to seal keyholes in different worlds to prevent them from being consumed by darkness after you help overcome whatever adventure or journey that world encompasses. Ys is a series that follows the main character Adol, who's obsessed with adventuring to different lands. Ys can be described as Indiana Jones meets Zelda. Each game is a journey described in the main character's travelogue that requires no previous knowledge of past games to play. The sense of exploration is the key draw for Ys, discovering new lands, solving puzzles, and uncovering hidden secrets. A signature to earlier Ys games is its bump combat system, where if you collide with enemies, that's going to be how you attack, and you're not going to want to collide head on, you're going to want to collide at an angle to avoid taking damage. But this is something that they've pivoted from with future entries, focusing now more on a more like standard action-based combat system. The Legend of Heroes is a series of interconnected games broken down into arcs, each in a different nation with a new set of main characters, but the same overarching continent. The large draw for the Legend of Heroes games is its interconnected story and detailed world building that continues to evolve from title to title. As you play more Legend of Heroes games, the continent begins to feel more lively because you gain more knowledge of the different countries, folklore, and geopolitics. They also do a great job making NPCs feel lively by having evolving dialogue that changes as you progress through the story. XenoBlade Chronicles is an action JRPG that has a sci-fi fantasy-esque setting in most of its entries. The game features several large, detailed environments that you just look at and wonder, can I explore this? And the setting of the XenoBlade Chronicles games can range anywhere from landscapes on bodies of giant titans to an alien planet and futuristic cities. Each game is a standalone story with a few things being carried from game to game, similar to the other franchises on this list. When it comes to the gameplay and the combat of XenoBlade Chronicles games, it's going to be more akin to playing an MMORPG offline than your standard JRPG. Okay, so what can I say about Pokemon? It's the most popular monster collector game ever, where you gotta catch them all, Pikachu, Charizard. Star Ocean games generally have a more sci-fi setting and have gone on record saying that they draw inspiration from Star Trek for the visuals of each game. Star Ocean is known as one of the earliest JRPGs to allow players to alter the storyline outcomes through player actions and dialogue choices. Star Ocean has continued to build on that system ever since, making it a staple of their franchise to have a branching narrative with multiple endings. Star Ocean 2 is generally highlighted as the best game of this series, with some of the following titles being highly criticized because they don't live up to the bar that Star Ocean 2 set. At its core, the Atelier series is known for its alchemy and crafting system, as well as providing a relaxing gameplay experience to decompress with. You spend most of your time roaming around the world collecting objects for different alchemy recipes. In more recent games, you'll do that with the character that has massive thighs, but don't let that confuse you thinking it's just a fan service game. Atelier games generally feature turn-based combat, where you can use the items you made through the alchemy system in combat to boost your character's abilities. There have been 25 main games in the Atelier franchise, which are subdivided into 7 different sub-series focusing on different groups of characters. Etrian Odyssey is a dungeon crawler JRPG series that focuses on exploration, combat, and party customization. Etrian Odyssey games generally require you to navigate through a maze-like dungeon filled with traps, puzzles, and powerful enemies that can catch you by surprise. The franchise is known for its hard difficulty because it doesn't hold your hand with a lot of things, and it depends on you having to know how to customize your party and figure things out. A signature to the Etrian Odyssey series is its map making system that forces you to explore a dungeon and draw out your own map. Parties in this series are extremely customizable and take a lot of thought and effort, and if you don't put that thought and effort into it, you can find yourself stonewalled for progress. The Saga series is known for its open world exploration, unconventional gameplay, and emphasis on a non-linear gameplay structure. Unlike traditional JRPGs with linear storylines, the Saga series allows you to explore the game's world freely and pursue multiple storylines and quests in whatever order you choose. With non-linear gameplay, this also means a branching narrative where choices matter and can have an impact ranging from just changing the ending to who joins your party, or even to saving or letting a character/race die. With its emphasis on non-linear gameplay, Saga games usually don't really place any priority on story or character development, which can be a make or break for a lot of JRPG players. Disgaea is a tactical JRPG that is anime inspired in a niche where everything else is more medieval focused. When it comes to the story of Disgaea games, they don't take themselves too seriously and focus on the lighthearted, funny side of things and doing ridiculous over-the-top things to, kind of push the narrative of the story. You can recruit and customize a diverse cast of characters, each with their own unique abilities, classes, and personality. A big signature when it comes to Disgaea games and something that they're known for is their infinite progression system, where it lets you level up your characters all the way up to 9,999. All Disgaea games are going to take place mostly in a land called the Netherworld, which is a universe inhabited by demons where their moral values are reversed from those that we have of humans in our current universe. Valkyria Chronicles is a tactical JRPG that also mixes in real-time action set in an alternate universe inspired by Europe during the early years of World War II. Through each game, you'll follow the journey of the Gallian militia as they defend their homeland of Gallia against invasions. The franchise is known for its signature Blitz combat system, which allows players to move and act in real time within the turn-based framework. You can strategically direct units and then drop down into a third-person view and fight in the battle alongside them by attacking, taking cover, and using special abilities. Suikoden is a JRPG series with a dedicated fan base and a massive legacy within the genre. A signature of the Suikoden series is the gathering of 108 stars of destiny, which are characters you can recruit to join your cause. Each game features a large number of recruitable characters, each with their own backstories, personalities, and roles in the story and gameplay. The large cast of characters provides a ton of customization to help you decide who you want to fill out your 6-man party with. Another core element to the Suikoden series is its true rune system, which ties into the gameplay as well as the lore. There are 27 true runes that act as a source of all magic and the driving force behind many of the series' major conflicts and events. Each true rune has a distinct power and ability that reflects its nature. While each game in the Suikoden series has its own self-contained story and setting, it is a shared lore where characters or families may reappear, and the political events and wars in one game might be referenced or have repercussions in the next game. Without getting into all of the specifics, some games are direct sequels of one another, while others are going to be prequels. The world map though expands with each game, revealing new countries and cultures while maintaining the consistency in its historical context. There has been a spiritual successor to this series that now goes by Etrian Chronicles. They have 2 games out currently, Etrian Chronicle 100 Heroes and Etrian Chronicles Rising. The Mana series is a spin-off of Final Fantasy, known for being an action JRPG in a time when most were turn-based. The stories often revolve around a mystical power of mana and the Mana Tree. The earlier Mana games built a reputation by featuring multiplayer, which enhanced a lot of players' experience by being able to have a shared adventure with their friends who could hop in whenever and play as the other party members. The Mana series generally features an amazing OST and a vibrant and colorful art style to complement it. The Mana series also introduced gameplay mechanics into the JRPG genre, such as the Ring Command menu in Secrets of Mana or the Land of Creation system that's present in Legends of Mana. Each game in the Mana series attempted to try something new which provided a unique experience, so I've tried my best to include the core things that people loved about the franchise. For the longest, this series has been just a nostalgia rush where new games were just ports and remakes, but recently Square Enix revitalized this franchise with an all-new mainline entry, Visions of Mana. The Xeno series is broken down into 3 different sub-series: Xenogears, Xenosaga, and XenoBlade. 2 of the sub-series can be considered JRPG classics on their own. These sub-series are only linked by common themes and having the word Xeno in their names. The themes that you'll generally see in the Xeno series games is they attempt to mix sci-fi elements with psychological, philosophical, and religious themes. Let's start by discussing Xenogears, which many consider the best JRPG to ever be released on the PlayStation 1. The biggest selling point for many fans is its complex and original story and the cinematography. The story follows Faye, who suffers from amnesia after his village is attacked by giant robots called gears. Faye accidentally activates one of these gears while trying to defend his village, but instead causes significant damage. Faye then decides to leave the village in guilt and confusion and uncover the truths about his past and the abilities that he possesses. That's just a slight preview, but things obviously get significantly deeper. And a fun fact about Xenogears is it was actually pitched to be the plot of Final Fantasy VII, and then when that didn't work, it was then pitched to be the sequel to Chrono Trigger. Obviously, it didn't become either of those, and Xenogears released as its own standalone title with Square Enix, but the creator decided to leave and start his own company, and this is where we get Xenosaga as well as XenoBlade. Xenosaga is a trilogy and the spiritual successor of Xenogears. The series features well-developed characters with deep backstories and complex motivations. Similar to Xenogears, Xenosaga features philosophical and religious themes that are well explored, but this time the setting is going to be in space. The story follows a group of characters as they face both a hostile alien race and a human faction fighting for control of an artifact connected to godlike energy. I've already talked about XenoBlade in part 1, so I don't want to repeat myself here. I just wanted to revisit the Xeno series as a whole, since the first time I didn't do it justice by only speaking about XenoBlade. Shadow Hearts is a series known for its dark gothic atmosphere and unique combat system. The games are set in an alternate historical periods, combining real-world locations and events with fantasy and supernatural elements. Adding to its dark gothic tone, in the first two games, the protagonist can fuse with different monsters that's going to change his appearance as well as enhance his abilities. Within this dark setting, the Shadow Hearts series attempts to weave in humor, shooting for a blend of horror and comedy. A signature of the Shadow Heart franchise is the Judgment Ring, a mechanic that adds an element of skill and timing to its turn-based battles. You have to hit the specific zone on a spinning ring to perform an attack successfully, and if you miss your timing, you're gonna lose your turn. A spiritual successor for this series titled Penny's Blood was recently launched on Kickstarter and is now fully funded for fans of this series to look forward to. The Nier series has developed a cult following, but I suppose you could say that for all of these franchises. But the Nier series features 6 games that are in the same universe but are self-contained stories. The 3 Drakengard games set the stage for the Nier universe, with one of the endings showing events that directly led to the creation of the world that we see in the Nier games. Nier games generally feature a branching narrative with multiple endings, providing different perspectives or even additional context to the story. The 3 Nier games after Drakengard are set in a post-apocalyptic world that doesn't shy away from heavy and tragic storylines, which gives the story significant weight, impact, and meaning. The most popular and critically acclaimed game in the Nier series is Nier Automata, which is set 100 years after the original Nier game during a proxy war between alien-created machines and human-crafted androids, and Nier Automata is going to be focusing on combat androids 2B, 9S, and A2. When trying to put my finger on what is the signature of the Nier series, I would say it's going to be the intricate storyline, beautifully designed post-apocalyptic setting, and the soundtrack to complement it. Oh, and also 2 Booty, which is probably what many of you recognize when I bring up the game Nier. So wait, forgive me, it needed to be included. It's a popular part of this franchise. Phantasy Star is a JRPG series that has continued to evolve since its initial release in 1987. There are 4 sub-series of the Phantasy Star franchise, each set in their own universe, but share similar terminology and concepts across games, similar to how you would think of Final Fantasy, but that helps establish its identity and bring continuity to the series. These 4 sub-series are Phantasy Star Online, Phantasy Star Universe, and Phantasy Star Nova. Pretty confusing, but those are them broken down. The original Phantasy Star series includes the first 4 games, which were turn-based and released primarily on Sega consoles. The next sub-series, Phantasy Star Online, revolutionized the franchise by introducing online multiplayer and action-based combat. You could team up online to explore dungeons, complete quests, and battle enemies in real time. Phantasy Star Online 2 or PSO2 continued this legacy with updated mechanics, new content, and is still active today with ongoing support. The next sub-series, Phantasy Star Universe, attempts to offer a single-player experience but also build on the online multiplayer concept from Phantasy Star Online by expanding the universe with deeper storyline, customizable characters, and a more extensive world to explore. Unfortunately, most of the games in the Phantasy Star Universe subseries can't be played today. The last subseries, Phantasy Star Nova, attempts to bring the experience back fully offline, and it's released a single-player action JRPG with similar gameplay mechanics and universe as PSO2. Everyone knows about Mario based on the iconic brand that they've built, but we're going to be keying in on their JRPG spin-off series, Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi. The Paper Mario series started on Nintendo 64 and is still ongoing today with new releases. Paper Mario quickly became known for its signature papercraft visuals and humorous storytelling. Paper Mario features simple turn-based combat with timed commands to deal extra damage, which makes the game more engaging. The Mario and Luigi series is loved for those exact same reasons, except for it doesn't have the paper aesthetic you get with Paper Mario, and the combat is sort of action-based, but in its own Mario unique way. Like the name suggests, the Yakuza series revolves around the Japanese underworld and its conflicts. Despite the serious tone you would expect hearing the name titled Yakuza, Yakuza games often slap humor and quirky characters into the narrative and gameplay. The series embraces Japanese culture's traditions and societal norms, offering you a peek into the aspects of Japanese life and customs. The minigames are another focal point of the Yakuza series, with games ranging from karaoke and arcade games to managing a hostess club. Over the years, the Yakuza series has evolved, introducing new gameplay mechanics, working for better graphics, and even taking a shot at turn-based combat with the latest installment. A lot of these games are interconnected stories, but they recently attempted to soft reboot the franchise with an all-new cast but within the same Yakuza universe, and that's the latest installment that I referenced earlier, which is turn-based, and it goes by Yakuza Like a Dragon. The Chrono series technically meets the criteria I set in part 1 of 3 games, but one of these is just a text-based game. With part 2 of this series, I decided to make a few exceptions for games that you guys were loud about in the comments, and this was one of them. The Chrono series extends across 2 actual games that have slightly connected stories, Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. Chrono Trigger is viewed by many as the greatest JRPG of all time, point blank period. In Chrono Trigger, a group led by Chronos accidentally transported through time and learns that the world will be destroyed in the distant future. To prevent this disaster, they travel throughout history to discover how to save the planet. Each character comes with a distinct personality, backstory, and development arc that makes all of them memorable. At the time of its release, Chrono Trigger was genre-defining on several ends, such as having multiple endings, which gave the game a feeling of how different timelines could have unfolded in the story when you're already time traveling that's built into the story. So it just made it feel like your time traveling had meaning with the multiple different endings you could achieve. Chrono Cross, on the other hand, is like the forgotten stepchild of the series, but it was an ambitious project that attempted to offer 45 different playable characters, each with unique abilities and backgrounds. The problem with that is that having the 45 characters made some of them feel hollow, and you didn't bond or feel as endeared to the characters as you did with Chrono Trigger, and many fans just wanted Chrono Trigger 2, not necessarily another game with a new cast. They wanted to see the old cast continue on their journey. But let's get back to Chrono Cross. The story focuses on Surge and his journey across parallel dimensions to uncover the truth about his existence and a mysterious artifact called the Frozen Flame. Octopath Travelers series features 2 mainline games with standalone stories and characters, but a shared common gameplay style. The Octopath Travelers series is the perfect series for someone looking to relive that 2D art style nostalgia with modern conveniences and an innovative take on traditional turn-based combat. Visually, the Octopath Travelers series is the perfect blend of like that retro aesthetic with modern effects to create a world that feels both nostalgic and fresh. A signature of the Octopath Travelers franchise is to have 8 distinct narratives following the journey of 8 different protagonists. Each protagonist has their own story arc, but playing through all 8 of them slowly will unveil more information about the overarching narrative that connects all 8 of the stories. The Wild Arms series combines elements of the American Wild West with traditional JRPG elements, creating a unique blended world. This fusion includes deserts, cowboys, and outlaws, mixed with the JRPG side of things, which is magic, ancient technology, and mythical creatures. The soundtrack sounds about how you'd expect, but it complements each game well. The Wild Arms games aren't direct sequels of each other, but are set in the same world and share a common terminology. Each game in the series introduces new gameplay mechanics while attempting to retain its core elements that define the series from its inception. For many fans, the Wild Arms series represents a classic era of JRPGs, invoking that nostalgia for like an old school gameplay style and storytelling. A spiritual successor for the Wild Arms series has been named, and it's going by Armed Fantasia and has been kickstarted and funded, in case there are any fans out there who weren't aware just yet. Monster Hunter is primarily an action JRPG where you do as the title suggests, hunt monsters. They tackle this uniquely by focusing on the hunt, where you'll have to track down the monster in a large environment before the battle. The stories are not interconnected, but you'll see terminology and popular monsters transfer from game to game. The signature of the Monster Hunter series are their weapons, armor, and multiplayer hunts. The weapons act as a class system that offers unique different gameplay styles and strategies for whichever weapon you decide to main. The next core element is the armor, which is generally designed to appear like the monster that you have to hunt in order to get the materials to craft it. Adding these two components with multiplayer makes for a fun franchise where you can pick it up, go on a short hunt with friends, and put it down if you need to. The No Kuni series is known for its beautiful art style, with its earlier games being in collaboration with Studio Ghibli and future games just taking inspiration from their designs. The overall aesthetic of the No Kuni games provides a relaxing charm, and you just feel like you're playing a live Studio Ghibli movie. No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch and No Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom are each self-contained stories, but Revenant Kingdom takes place 100 years after Wrath of the White Witch in the same universe. Certain locations and lore elements from the first game appear in Revenant Kingdom to tie in the different universes. No Kuni Crossworld is the newest game in the series that's a mobile MMORPG, but it has no connection to the other two games aside from its aesthetic and terminology. Golden Sun is a series that was released only on handheld consoles. The unique concept about the Golden Sun series is that in the first game you played as Isaac, attempting to stop an anti-hero group from releasing alchemy into the world, but in the second game, which is a direct sequel, you play as the surviving members of that antagonist group in the first game. A key element in the Golden Sun series is its use of synergy spells, which are used in both battle and solving puzzles. Dot Hack is a series meant to be played as a video game while watching the anime to build its world. The core element of the Dot Hack franchise is the world, which is an MMORPG within the storyline of Dot Hack that allows players to immerse themselves in it with VR technology. Dot Hack explores concepts of virtual reality and the social dynamics within an MMORPG, including player interactions, PvP, guilds, and in-game events. The Dot Hack series really thrives off the mystery and underlying conspiracy each sub-series story generates, and it was Sword Art Online before Sword Art Online was released. Dot Hack though is broken into two different sub-series, Dot Hack and Dot Hack GU. Dot Hack follows Kite and Black Rose in their attempt to find out what caused the sudden coma in their loved ones who were inside of the world. This encompasses the first 4 games and a few of the earlier anime series. The other sub-series is Dot Hack GU, which focuses on the player Haseo's search for a cure and revenge after his friend was killed by a player known as Tri-Edge in the world R2, but left in a coma in real life. This spans 3 different games and a few anime series as well, but recently it was repackaged as Dot Hack GU The Last Recoded, which includes all 3 of the games. Breath of Fire is a series that's been shelved by Capcom, but still holds a special place in JRPG history. None of the games are connected, but are generally just retelling the same story with slight adjustments. That being said, the series can be explained pretty simply as they found a story formula and continuously repeated it. Ryu, no, not that Ryu, not Capcom's favorite Ryu, but instead the blue-haired kid named Ryu, who is a part of an extinct dragon race who can transform into dragons. He's going to be fighting off the bad guy, who's usually a goddess named Eve that fears the Dragon Clan and is attempting to exterminate it. You'll always be accompanied by a winged girl named Nina, who's going to act as your female sidekick. Pretty straightforward, but fans recommend playing Breath of Fire 3 as this is unanimously the best iteration of the series' formula. Now that's gonna be the complete guide to every JRPG franchise ever made. Now I know there's bound to be some obscure ones that I missed, so drop those in the comments down below. But if you're looking for more JRPG content like this, check out this video right here where I go over the 10 best dark JRPGs to play in 2025. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.